There it is. Hey, we got all the live videos going. Okay, good morning, everybody. Natalie coming to you live. Spirit and coffee. Got my coffee here. Drinking my little "Don't Let the Muggles Get You Down" mug. Woo woo! And we got Destiny as a guest. Salud. What do you got? You got a Christmas mug.
Yeah.
Is it Christmas? What does
Yeah,
it
if
say?
a kiss was a snowflake, I would send you a blizzard.
Oh, it would drown you in kisses, in other words, and you would die of kisses. Because that's what a blizzard might do, it'll kill you. Okay, so let's get started. Um, so this morning we're having a conversation, right? And I was talking about, sort of relationship, which is what I'm trying to understand at this point in my life. And actually living into relationship, not just talking about it as a concept, but actually, how do I have a relationship with an individual, and not just as this thing in my mind that I believe to be true, but actually how. I know it's funny. And we were talking about relationship, and there are patterns that are seated deep within us, right? So relationships are really hard. It's not easy. I'm going to say that to begin with. It's not an easy thing. Now, I think that people find their life partners that are amazing, that they love, that are, they're right on point, and maybe everything is really good and operates in, whatever. But there's always going to be complication, and in any relationship, not just intimate relationship, but relationships, again, like with even with my niece or whatever. But it's different when you're in an intimate relationship. And it's hard because sometimes you want to escape, or at least I want to escape, and that's kind of my pattern. I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know if this is what I really wanted, and trying to be mindful, like, did I truly want to choose this? And obviously I did, because God has put it in my path. Okay. But super complicated and not the easiest thing for me to do. Because why? Because it's been Natalie by herself for so long. So we just started talking about being responsible for everything, because the scenarios in our relationships that we've created, right? And it's a family historical thing. And I'm glad that Destiny's here, because she's, of course, part of the family. And as being part of the family, we start to talk about how our own patterns are seated throughout the family history, and how we relate to intimate relationships, and how we see it coming out in different aspects. And then how are we personally responsible for what is showing up in our space? So for me, the pattern is to push people out of my life. Like, that's just the pattern that I have. It's, yeah, okay, I want a relationship. And then I subconsciously create these scenarios around my life that will drive someone completely out of my life. They'll just be like, I'm done. And I'm like, okay. And then it's like, okay, you're done. I get it. It's okay. But did I create that? And so that's where the personal responsibility comes from. And this morning I started to really think about, how am I personally responsible for all the things that show up in my life, even the uncomfortable stuff, even the stuff that I don't want to take responsibility for. Even if we start to take personal responsibility for every single thing that shows up in our life, we start to create a world that we want to see around us, because we can see the feedback and the results and say, nah, I don't really like that one. That's not really how I want to maneuver. So Destiny and I thought, well, let's talk about it. So Destiny, what do you have to say? Like, being personal, just tell me this, being personally responsible for everything that shows up in your life. How did it make you feel when you first started to practice that?
Uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie. It's very uncomfortable when you first start practicing taking personal responsibility. At first, I wasn't taking responsibility for everything. Just things that what I would think that was bad. No, that's not necessarily taking responsibility for everything. It's taking responsibility for the good, the bad, for everything in between, and knowing that I created that. I am personally responsible for creating every single possible outcome that was created, because I was responsible for it. So that's kind of how I see it more than anything is.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable. Good morning, Ignacio. Cheers to you. And good morning to those on Podbean as well. So it's uncomfortable to be personal responsible. Part of like being, so when we say that we're personal responsible for everything, it's the good, the bad, the ugly, the every single thing. And I'll tell you a story that happened. What I mean by this, right? We call it authoring it into your life. You're the one who's writing the script of your life. And so if you're writing the script of your life, good morning, Nicole. How are you writing it in? What is it that you're writing into the script of your life? And so I was driving with a friend across the United States on the back of a motorcycle, because that's me. I do these crazy things. And it was a crotch rocket. We were like, and I literally all the way from the East Coast back to New Mexico on the back of a bike, right? Good morning, Reggie. And we happened to get a flat. Okay, we got a flat, and like, thank God we were on the highway, but we were safe. Nothing bad happened. And I had a coaching call with my coach. It was my coach. And at this time I was getting coached. And I talked to my coach and I'm like, look, I'm committed to my coaching call no matter what. Like at the end of the day, I was on the side of the highway. So this is what I'm talking about. I was on the side of the highway, like in some bushes type thing. And like sitting there chilling because we needed somebody to come help us fix the tire. And I was on the phone with my coach and she said, so what happened? And I said, well, we got a nail in the tire. And she's like, how did you author that into your life? In other words, how are you responsible for that nail? She goes, that nail could have hit any tire, but it hit your tire. And I was like, I didn't create it. I didn't do that. How come I did it? Why am I supposed to be personally responsible for this, right? And so basically I started to think about, well, what did I author? How did I author it? And if I was the author of this particular scenario, how is it that I'm responsible for the result that I'm seeing? Or if I'm responsible for this, how do I make the best out of it? So for me, anything that happens in my life, I sort of try to make the best out of what is the scenarios that show up in my life. So I told her, well, I don't really know. Okay. She put it there. She put it there. Is that what you meant to say? She put I here. So you probably meant to say she put it there, is what I'm thinking. That's funny. Yeah, she probably did. Yeah. She's the one who put it there. Sucker. No, I'm just kidding. But I started to think, well, how was I personally responsible? Good morning, Mama. For the nail showing up in the tire. And then I thought, okay, maybe I did that because I needed to take a break. Maybe my booty was hurting a little bit and I didn't want to say anything because we wanted to keep going. And also maybe we needed a rest. And also I got to get on my coaching call, but for me, it wasn't like a bad thing that this happened. It was an opportunity to recognize what the universe was telling me. What is the universe calling forth? And so by personal responsibility, I believe what it is that the universe is giving us these messages about how we can maneuver our life into the next phase. So that was me taking personal responsibility. Let's see which Wise Mackie says. So I really don't think so anymore. I used to believe that we were writing our lives by choice, but I'm really questioning it now. Great insight, Wise Mackie, and I'll get to maybe an understanding or a worldview that might support what you're thinking. And I believe the same kind of thing. And this is a conversation between atheism and determinism. And so we have these two constructs of understanding, and I'll get into that a little bit in just a second. I'll get back to that. So the personal responsibility piece in our life. Now, Destiny and I were talking about relationship. I don't know how authentic she wants to get with that. Like, this is Spirit and Coffee. Put it all out there. There are no filters in Spirit and Coffee. We talk about our whole life. Not just our part of it.
And that's the thing, is I talk about my life no matter what, because it doesn't just help me, it helps everyone else. And so I was in a relationship about a year about over a year ago, and I was trying to understand why I created this, right? Why was I in this position? Well, first off, I put myself in that position. I allowed myself to feel comfortable for so long that I had to realize that I was, you know what? I allowed that for so long. I felt comfortable for so long because I did have an apartment. It was easy. I felt it was, it just worked. Where me, my whole life, I had dreams that scared the hell out of me. And at that point in my life, I wasn't even thinking about half the stuff I wanted to do in my life. So it's going back and was it serving me? No. I was comfortable. It's going in the same repeating pattern over and over and over and over again where I had to take responsibility for that too because I did feel comfortable. It was easy for me. I was able to, live the same life every single day. It was the same day. It was the same, what do they say? The same day or
Oh, it's like Groundhog Day?
yeah, where it's like the same thing over and over. I was working 7 days a week, and then I would get home, cook dinner, whatever the case was, doing it all over and all over again. And that's not what I wanted in my life. That's not what I wanted to create. And so, but going back and, going to my roots and no, that's not what I wanted, but taking personal responsibility for that. And also what I did in the relationship, I wasn't always the nicest. I'm not the easiest to handle when it comes to a relationship, but I have to take personal responsibility for that. I know I'm not easy to, to handle. I know it's not. I know that.
It's hard. Relationships are hard. You got to handle yourself plus another person.
Exactly. And it's really hard handling myself.
I can't even handle myself. That's what I'm saying. Like, how am I going to handle a whole other person? And I can't even handle my own self. Don't spit coffee on me. Sometimes we laugh. I'm like, please don't spit your coffee on me. So it's kind of funny. But yes, the personal responsibility and also the subconscious mind grabs a hold and starts to drive it. And when we're starting to drive it through the subconscious mind, sometimes we're unaware of it until later on. Or something happens and we're like, oh shoot, I'm the one who was creating the whole scenario. How? So in my opinion, it gets more severe until you wake up. Yes. And I just gave up alcohol 3 days ago for this reason. Awesome. Congratulations. Yes. I've been sober almost 10 years. So bravo to you. Not an easy task. Alcohol was my poison of choice at one point. So been there, done that. And now coffee is all I do. So it's my one thing I will not give up because I get to be human. Okay, so there you go. I get to have my stimulants. No. So yes. So and then the subconscious mind and relationships, I'll tell you that for me, I realize subconsciously in relationships that I naturally push people away and I do it subconsciously. And I set it up and the scenario is really good. And the subconscious mind tricks you really good. Like it's really, that ego, man, is got, let me tell you, the ego can grab a hold of you real good. And it plays tricks. Like I think I manipulated myself. Like I am cognizant and aware if I'm like, okay, I'm not going to manipulate this person or this situation because a light worker is aware when it's manipulation and done for the light. Now, someone who I was manipulating me, holy Jesus. Natalie was manipulating herself, not aware of it through the subconscious mind. This is why relationship is so important because it opens up parts of yourself that you were unaware of at some particular point in time. So I'm having these new sort of epiphanies. Yeah. And then the patterns are starting to shift. And that's the big thing. That's what you were talking about, the patterns, right? How do we shift the patterns? How do we recognize the patterns? How do we get out of the patterns? So let me get back to you, Wise Mackie, on altruism and determinism, because I've had these conversations. Do we have free will, or is our outcome already there. Like if God knows all and we believe in God and God has the outcome and we're going to end up in the same place anyway, do we have free will? So I have been kind of contemplating this particular subject and topic for a little bit, and I think it's both. So here's how I think it works. And this is just a worldview. I'm not 100% sure that it works this way, and I haven't done enough research around how this might work. I don't know that you could do research because it's really about reincarnation. So if we looked at reincarnation from the determinism to the altruism, to the atheism, we would say that atheism says that we have complete free will, and that everything that we do is based on our choices, and that there is no God, and that everything we do is what we do. Then there's determinism that tells us that God has a set plan for us. It doesn't matter what we do, we're going to end up there. Okay, here's where I think reincarnation comes from. This is what I believe. So it doesn't mean it's true. It just means that I've been contemplating the same things. Okay, so here's the deal. We have this line where it says we can have free will of choice. Now, the choices that we make will lead us back to the source of God, because God is all, love is all. However, if we start to make choices in manipulation in ego-centric places, where our ego is driving it instead of love and guiding us back to God, that we then will be recycled into the next cycle or reincarnated until we figure out who we truly are. So I think that the determinism says that we will end up back in love and God, no matter what. But sometimes, let's see, Lingalanga. Is that how you say it? Lingalanga? I like that. Okay. Like Lingalanga said, it gets severe until we recognize who we are. So basically the pressure will come down, and this is part of personal responsibility.
No, definitely.
If you don't take personal responsibility, your same patterns are going to keep forcing you into getting the message. Like, are you going to get it now? Are you going to get it now? Are you going to get it now? And you're like, no, I'm not going to get it now. I just need to go burn my hand on the stove 500 more times before I recognize that shit's hot. Like, how is my hand getting burned? Oh, well, I keep putting it on the stove. Well, don't touch the stove when it's hot. Oh, okay.
It's that easy? No.
It's that easy, but that hard, because and part of it, I believe, is listening to your elders. Like, I've always been a big fan of listening to my elders. I really do take their words into consideration. If they tell me that if I take this road, it's going to lead me there, they know I won't go down that road. Why? But some people have to learn it. And I'm not saying everything, because there's some things I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then I'm like, oh shit, they were right. And then I'm like, never again.
Learning the hard way.
Yeah, the hard way. Yeah. But some people don't ever learn.
No, they keep taking the hard way. Keep getting hit in the face. And
you're like, it would be so much easier if you would just listen. And I told you that the stove was hot. Why are you touching the stove? But they keep doing it. So whatever. So there you go. Yeah. So there, keep burning yourself. I don't know what to tell you. Let's see what this is. Yeah, I feel you. I feel like I'm in the light worker, but I believe that reincarnation can be within. Ooh, let me finish reading. Ooh, be within our own lives. We're still alive. Death of one part of growth, birth of a new mind. Yeah, and so can happen. Absolutely. Shit, you are sure you're not my wife? You sound like her. Awesome. Well, I love your wife. Hey, is this the guy from perhaps the Comcast? Comcast? No, he did. The guy from Xfinity. We ended up talking about it. And I'm like, oh, I do Spirit and Coffee, and that's why I need it. I play music. Oh, amazing. Well, you can share your music. Do send us a message on Spirit and Coffee at the Facebook, Spirit and Coffee Talk 1. And then you can share your music and we'll listen to it. I will listen to it. I love music. By the way, a whole live band showed up at my house yesterday. Great. We were eating outside, and then this drive-by band did a drive-by music.
Yeah, it was live music.
A drive-by concert.
A drive-by concert.
We love that it should be, instead of drive-by shootings, drive-by. We should come up with the whole campaign about that.
We should.
It's time. This is the time of drive-by musicals.
It was great.
It was really great. Let's see what else they say. I play music. Okay. Both is still a theory. Yes, it is, Wise Mackie. And the other concept or construct, yeah. Even after knowing certain established principles and identities of ourselves, if we can only recognize its freedom as such, all man's concept is theory. Yeah, no matter how presented or believed. Absolutely, it is all theory. But the cool thing about it, Wise Mackie, is that it is all theoretical, and we work within theoretical frameworks, but we ourselves, right, can then live into the theory and experience the theory. And that's what I was telling people, which is my master's program that I'm going to be doing is it's part theory, part experiential. In other words, yes, it's theory, but it's theory based on the experience that an individual has had. So we are in a phase of understanding how we experience this, whatever this is, right? And that's really all life is about. That's what I've come to the conclusion is life is just here so we can experience it. That's it. Simple. But we experience a lot of shit. And some of it's not so good. Especially here in this planet. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot muggle today, okay?
No, it's not happening. Mopping out.
We're going to go drink butterbeer.
Yep.
Pre-consciousness is one's intelligence allows them to know it. Yeah, pure consciousness, yes. And to drop into that, right? How do you drop into that? It's only experiential. You can't, I can't be in Wise Mackie's brain. I mean, she's an extension of the full, if it was a full mind, if we thought of it as a full mind, an extension of that, but I can't be in her mind and her perception of it, which makes it beautiful. So if we could, and that's the personal responsibility.
Exactly.
Yeah, go ahead. You had something to say about
No, that's the magic in this world. We don't sit back and really, like I say all the time, there's miracles and magic going on every single day, but you don't think it's by taking personal responsibility or understanding that everyone has a different perspective and has a different way of thinking, and that's just not the way, in general. But yeah, there's so much, it's crazy, the magic and the miracles that go on every single day that, with implying these practices. But yeah.
Yeah. And it's fun. And that's what I love about it, is because when we start to take personal responsibility for our own perception or story or whatever you want to call it, now we can actually celebrate with other people. It doesn't have to be a fight. I don't have to know more than you. We don't need a degree to do this stuff. I'm getting a master's for a purpose, right? For an expansion, not because I have to be the expert. I'm not. I'm the expert of myself and my own world. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm becoming the expert of. And that's even what Jesus Christ said, Buddha, look within yourself, become the master of you and your experience and how you relate to God. Your personal relationship with God is your personal relationship with God. You don't have to display that to everybody. As long as you understand and you know, and you're living in your own personal integrity, it doesn't really matter, as long as you know that you're doing it for the good of humanity. Now, on the other spectrum, if you're doing good for the humanity and you're living in integrity, but your results and feedback from the universe are totally opposite of that, then you might want to look at what you're doing. How are you engaging? Language creates, I said this over and over again, language will create an outcome.
Be careful with what you say.
Yeah. Words create and shape our world. They do. It's vibrational tonality and frequency. That's where they came from. It came from the vibrational frequency and how we heard it and then how we expressed it in language. But we've had these conversations, Curtis and I, about, well, what if you were blind and you were deaf? You wouldn't have the same, you couldn't get angry because you couldn't see the cues, or you couldn't hear the cues, or you couldn't. So how would you feel about that? It would be a physical sensation, right? And the neurotransmitters and all of the nerve endings that we have to feel this place are what give us the experience, right? Exactly. So, and it goes on and on and on and on. But being personal responsible for what you see in your space will provide you an opportunity to grow What else do you think it provides you when you take personal responsibility?
It creates more space to create more in your life. Definitely.
Yeah, Destiny's been so she's my nieces. They're the only ones who can handle me. No, just kidding. And now we have a Curtis who's trying to handle me. We call him a Curtis.
A Curtis.
I call him a it's and a them. And then my niece goes, am I a science project, Auntie? Because I told her, I just let you go out and do your thing and then let you figure it out and see how you're going to fall on your face.
Like a science experiment.
She goes, really? Like a science experiment? I said, no, not quite. And then but maybe kind of. You got to understand, I was born on the same day as Sigmund Freud. Maybe I'm a reincarnation trying to get this right rather than just focus on sex because that's all he did. And focus on other parts of life besides that. No, I don't know. But having the mind, the mentality to recognize these things, to understand these things, and to drive them forth and live into the theory. So again, Wise-Mackie, it's up to you how you want to engage that. So if you're in the question of, do we have free will? Is it really up to us? And taking personal responsibility, does it change the outcome of what we see? I think that it can shape the outcome differently. I don't know that it changes the end result, but it's like the clay that I talk about when I was talking yesterday about throwing just clay. Like we have, like Destiny has her clay, I have my clay. I can do what I want with my clay. It's part of the same clay, but she has hers and I have mine. I could take that clay and throw it against the wall and let it stick. And I don't know what kind of function that's going to be. It's not going to be functional. It'll be maybe art that people could be like, ooh, that's so pretty, but doesn't really have a function. Destiny could take that same clay and mold a cup. And now we can drink out of it. We can eat out of it. It's resourceful. We can go dig more clay or more mud. So how we mold that same thing is really up to us. And that's kind of what I'm saying. It's our consciousness, the way that we view the world. We get to mold and shape it the way we want, but it's still part of the same whole. But each individual, why is everybody in this world have different outcomes in the way that they maneuver through the world? Why? Ask yourself that. Well, they have the same tools. Everybody comes into this planet with the same tools, right? They may not have the same start. Don't get me wrong. I know that there's these cultural sensitivity and all that stuff and dynamics of family and all that stuff. But yet we still have the trees. We still have the oxygen. We still have the water. Now, accessing those resources a little bit different. But there's somebody, let's say, for instance, myself. I'm going to use myself. I came from the hood, the ghetto, whatever you want to call it. Now, I'm not saying I lived a terrible life, but I did actually have a hard life. Okay. It wasn't I didn't have an easy life. I had to put myself through school. I had to struggle and fight for the things that I wanted. It just wasn't handed to me. Everything that I've ever had, I had to fight for. Okay. But I came from the same place as all these individuals. Now, when I look at this, they had the same clay and the same mold, but yet they used it differently. And so some of them are on drugs. Some of them are not even here. They're gone. Some of them ended up in prison. Some of them, and it's okay. It's not, there's nothing right, wrong, good or bad with the choices that they made. They're still love. They're still God. And I still love them no matter what. Like I look at them in the face and love them just the same. I'm no different. I just used my resources differently to create a different outcome. That's it.
And that also comes back to the personal responsibility. This is what I was thinking just about 10 minutes ago was, kind of the same thing. I have a lot of friends that, are messed up on drugs that could do more, I see so much more potential in them, but we had the same exact clay. What's the difference? Why am I able to experience more? Why am I able to, I get that question all the time. Why have you been able to do this? Why have you gotten so far in your life? I took personal responsibility for my childhood. Plain and simple. I didn't live the best life either. I had to help raise children. I had to do certain things. But why did I allow that? But going back and taking personal responsibility, I did that because who else was going to do it? I was the only one who could actually help in some kind of way. So taking personal responsibility, yes, I allowed myself to take care of my brother and sister. I allowed myself to do this for so long. That's why I lived with my grandma for so long. Because I finally got sick of it and I took personal responsibility for everything in my life. And I said, you know what? I'm taking it and I'm running with it and I'm going to create the life that I've always wanted to live.
That's awesome. Yes.
So, but it always goes back to taking personal responsibility,
for everything that shows up in your life. Not easy.
No.
One of the hardest things you have to do, but it's part of the work. And the great work is not ever easy. No. People think, oh, we're just gonna, like, I remember your mom, just go out there with your roses. And I'm like, what do you think there's a roses month? Hey Sandra. Hey Sandra, good morning. Let's see what they have to say exactly, because they have their own path, yeah, and own lessons to get along the way, yeah, and be something unknown or unlearned from their past life. That's right. And that's I mean, I believe in that paradigm. I believe in that, people have their own journey, their own lessons, and I can't be responsible. That was a big part too, is the feeling personally responsible for other people, and I can't be. And that's a hard thing to do, because I do. And I don't know about you, but most people want to change other people. Like, they can see, they're going down the wrong path. I can help them. And no, they can't. I have to. I mean, I've had friends commit suicide. I've had friends who have died of alcoholism at a very young age. Liver damage, all this stuff, overdose. My friend Austin just died of an overdose, which was really hard for me. He was very young, and he even came to live with me. I let him live with me to support him to see if he can, but I can't be responsible for what he chooses. I can only be responsible for how I support him, but I can't hold that responsibility. And it's been a challenge to see that I can't be responsible. And, Gilbert passing away, which was my high school sweetheart, got shot. And, I felt responsible for that because of the scenario and how it was the night before. He wanted to be with me, and I had cut things off with him. And then he got shot and killed. And so that next morning, so I was like, wow, I could have saved him, but I couldn't have. That was it. I can't be responsible for that. His choices, right? I can only be responsible for what I chose. And I chose out of that relationship because it wasn't serving me. Now I have to be responsible for the result. Yeah, that I see the result of death. And that's something that I had to go through. And how did that serve me or help me or understand? I understand that what he left behind was unconditional love. And I started to understand how to love unconditionally because of that scenario. So, but you can't change another individual's outcome. That's not for you to do.
But what you can do is change you within yourself and pray for everyone else and love everyone else from a distance. Because what I've realized, honestly, is being able to love myself and do these things for myself. I see God working every single day to help those people every single day that are struggling. And they, ask me questions all the time. Why are you so happy, Destiny? Why do you always smile? Because I can. I choose into it every single day. Why not? So they see that and it reflects. You're a reflection of yourself. You just because you absorb energy doesn't mean everyone else doesn't absorb your energy either. So, seeing that every day too. So, not always thinking, oh, they're going to be like that forever. No, praying for them, loving them from a distance, and being able to see them grow as a person, even from a distance, even if you're not a part of that or whatever the case is. But, being able to do that for yourself, to seeing that, to see that love and that prosper go to everyone else is beautiful.
Yeah.
So
I agree. You can always love at a distance. It doesn't have to be, and you can't choose. And as you start to shift and change, people will start to exit your life. And that's just the natural way that it happens. Your frequency, your patterns, people can't be around you when you're in a certain, if you're leading a clean life, people who are not leading a clean life naturally go away. Not that you want them to. I don't want any of my friends to feel like they can't be around me, even if they're, on drugs or whatever. Like, I accept them fully. But they naturally won't come around me. It's just a natural thing. They don't want to be exposed to that because, well, their own guilt shows up is really what it is. They start to feel guilty, but I'm not putting the guilt on them. I love them no matter what. So it naturally happens. So people will fall out of your life as you continue to move along your spiritual journey. Know that that is a result of that, right? Hey, Betty. Good morning.
Hi.
Or maybe something in a parallel life in another dimension that collides with the current existence. Yeah. And I believe that too, the parallel universes and stuff like that. I think we're at a place right now in humanity where we're starting to understand that everything has happened at once. And that's a whole other topic. That's like the time topic. Like, is there time and is there space and does that exist? And that's the whole quantum realm and the classic physics and da 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 da. And that conversation is super critical for individuals who are transcending time space at this time. And there are people who are doing it. So we at Spirit and Coffee will talk about both the realistic theoretical models being applied to this time space, 3-dimensional space, but also talk about what does that mean in your stellar body or at the macrocosm. There's the macro and microcosm, right? And we have both. And how do we intertwine those two together? So it can get as surface level as relationship and personal responsibility, and it can get as deep as the subconscious mind, quantum physics, and how the existence of life itself in parallel universes manifest out into this place, time, space, whatever. So there's different dimensions for sure. And densities as well. So there's not just dimensions, there's also density, and they go hand in hand. Density being the space, dimensions being the time. So we have both, and how they intertangle with each other, you get a result or a way that you view the world around you. And so perhaps in my master's program, that's what I'll look at, understanding how density and dimensions intertwine with another, which would be how do time and space work together. If we called it density and dimensions, I think we'd have a better language to actually describe the experience that we have within those dimensions. Yeah. Or those spaces. Yeah.
Definitely.
Because language is everything. So I don't know that time is just a construct, where we would say density is a construct, but it's a natural law construct of how we are material. And then dimensions is how we view the material in motion. So interplay with that. But that's a whole other topic.
We could go on and on about that.
Oh, we could go on and on about everything under the sun. But personal responsibility, I think, is a big one. And thank you guys for showing up. We're going to, good morning, Sam. Cheers to you.
Good morning.
We're going to call it a day. Now, I'm going to try to get up and get ready, like look fabulous for you guys eventually. But whatever, we just do. This is real life. If we did a reality show, it'd be real reality, not like rehearsed.
You guys would be amused all day long.
Yeah, because we don't rehearse.
Mm-hmm.
We just talk.
And we talk like this all day long.
Blah, 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 blah,
And
blah,
probably
blah, blah,
sometimes
blah.
even more.
Oh, I know. Too much talking sometimes too. Sometimes like, I practice shut up a lot. That helps.
Excited.
It helps with the muggles. They don't get you down when you shut up. Okay. So there you have it. Thanks, Destiny, for always being a part of this. It's amazing to have my niece on here. So we say salud. Cheers to you. Cheers to you.
Cheers.
Pecan. It's seasonal. Remember, it's the season of pumpkin. So some people don't like it, but I'm like the fairy pumpkin lady. I magically put pumpkin in
There's
your
also
space.
apple cider,
Oh.
and there's also
Apple cider is
yeah,
good.
cinnamon, but you use cinnamon year round. So.
I use cinnamon in everything
Like our house smells like cinnamon
all the time because I'm a cinnamon head. A cinnamon everything. And then what else? Oh, it's this maple pecan coffee that we're drinking from Starbucks. So there you go. That's what we're drinking. There's that. So love you guys.
Hi.
Oh, it's Destiny. Yay. Yeah, Destiny. Who's with you? Oh, it's Destiny. Yeah, it's Destiny. She's all grown up.
Yeah.
She's all grown up. One day we're going to get on because I'll just say this real quick. A shout out, Destiny, if you need your hair done, hair did, or any kind of makeup, any kind of anything, this is the one to do it.
Yes.
She does hair. She does makeup.
I do it all.
She does it all. And I'll be honest, one day we're going to come glamified. Maybe. You know, we do like a before and after. We're going to be like, spirit and coffee yesterday, spirit and coffee today. And then we'll like transform into this.
Maybe one morning we could do a
makeup.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that would be fun. We'll do a little makeup tutorial thing. Tutorial. This is how spiritual makeup should look if you want to be a spiritual fairy queen.
There's different levels to it because you're more of a natural.
Yeah, I could be more of a natural.
Yeah. And I'm more of a cake face, so there's that.
This is the cake face and this is the natural. This is the blue avatar and this is the red avatar. All right. I don't know where this is going. So have a great day. We love you guys. And I will be seeing y'all tomorrow.
Yes. Bye.
Kisses, kisses, kisses.